What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of December 7th and the 8th of 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's take a look at this weekend. It is Saturday, December 7th, and we're going to have the Sun opposite Jupiter. For what it's worth, I kind of like the opposition. Jupiter's in its detriment position of Gemini, and it's retrograde. And to me, I feel like the Sun in Sagittarius is kind of winning the battle. Jupiter's very weak here, and to me, I feel like it's a good opportunity to look really far inward right now for our own truths, to kind of look wide, to have ideals, and to kind of be a visionary for what we want to be creative for, what we want to show, using defining energy right now to kind of keep like expanding. We just came off a Sun Saturn square. Like we're still kind of in it. The moon's going to square the sun this weekend in Mercury. I think we need to like stop, playing so small. Yeah, Mars is retrograde now, but it's a good opportunity to, look up very far inward for our knowing and to kind of dial in. If we're going to narrow things down and use Jupiter in Gemini, it's figuring out like what your path is, what your journey is, and I think we get to do a lot of inward sort of deep dive onto this, where there's not like a ton of maybe forward progression outwardly, but I think inwardly the forward progression is outstanding, and that's where I think this is a good opposition. I think the sun's in a fire sign here, and it's not in a place it doesn't want to be. So I think the sun definitely is kind of pulling Jupiter along here in opposition. Like, let's go over here. We got to pay attention to certain truths and facts that show up and different data that, information that shows up in our life. Yeah. We can't be, so dogmatic too. And I think that's where maybe some struggle might be is if you're so dogmatic about some story in life or how far you can expand or you know what philosophy to have in life. Like maybe it's just one thing. Like I feel like, we're not doing ourselves any favors when there's a lot to be expanded and grown upon, and there's still a lot to learn. And I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of learn more in a more inward sense, for sure. That moon is in Pisces, very sensitive, which can help with our intuitive knowings. It can help kind of keep our empathy levels high, hopefully for ourselves and others, and does kind of lower the boundaries a little bit. So, we might be getting met with maybe contradictory beliefs and opinions about different stories in life, paths. And maybe that's where sometimes it's hard to kind of figure out what's yours and what isn't. I think we want to be open to a lot of different opinions right now, but still kind of trust our intuition and know where we're going. Remember, it's your story. And I don't think we want to get lost in the oceans of someone else's story either. It's also Venus-Pluto today, so the intensity is pretty ramped up, but it is a new Venus-Pluto cycle, and they met in Aquarius last time also, so we're getting another revamp of this. That's also where Mars and Venus met for their last conjunction. That's also where Jupiter and Saturn met in 2021 on the winter solstice. So there's been so much that's happened at that zero, and Pluto's crossed over it. This is the fourth time. So there's been a lot of rubbing back and forth on this zero Aquarius moment, but I do think this is kind of a really big start to a lot of different ways of relating, how we're not only relating to others, but relating to ourselves, kind of like embodying a deeper sense of freedom, especially with the sun in Sagittarius and Mercury retrograde in Sag. I think we're definitely embodying sort of this revolutionary way to relate and to love ourselves and to be more free spirited, autonomous, and sort of march to the beat of our own drum. And of course, this can bring up intensities and obsessions when it comes to other people and maybe groups of friends or also some outcast energy, which can be, devastating in its own right. And, Venus Pluto can bring a devastating sort of punch. Venus is the dispositor of the South Node in Libra. Mars is the dispositor of the North Node. And guess what? Mars is offline and causing that North Node, and then Venus is just getting super intensified, right? by Pluto and almost overpowerful. And again, we don't want to like fall single file into someone else's plans or codependency. We definitely want to be free spirited, have free and autonomy to kind of move about life as we see fit and more from an inner place, and to really go deep into the things that bring a better sensuality into our life, connect more to those peers, but still from a place of independence. And likewise, it can also bring the opposite of an intense codependency and kind of like needing someone else to be on the story or the journey with you. And I think with the moon in Pisces, we could be so sensitive that that can be difficult, and we can start to be, feel victimized. And we don't want to feel victimized. We want to feel very magical and I think special, and be in the right part of the sensitivities to where we're more in a flow state. We're seeing where things are going, but we're still moving about life as we see fit for ourselves, right? So it definitely intense Saturday, but it's all about how you use it. I think if you're really kind of marching to the beat of your own drum and following an inward journey and an inward path here and believing in yourself, being open to a lot of different opinions and listening to other people, but not needing something else to kind of cattle prod you along here. I think this is revolutionary stuff. I think this is kind of opening a lot of things up for us, and I think throughout this Mars retrograde, um, we're going to kind of really build up some intuitive power that's going to have a lot of strength moving forward. And that's something to look forward to too. But yeah, definitely a very intuitive time. Lots of retrograde planets. Um, Neptune stations retrograde today as well. So there is like a smorgasbord of action in the astrology, right? But there's something about Neptune coming online here that does kind of puts us back into being able to imagine, being able to kind of get lost. And there's something special about that, and that faith and just kind of that naivety and that hopefulness. But, you know, we'll always get disillusioned at some point, right? And like reality will come smack us in the face. And that's just how it goes. We always get over rambunctious or hopeful in life. And that's like the beauty of it too, because that does feel so good and positive. It reminds me of like if you've ever bought a lottery ticket, like this is at least how it is for me. I haven't bought a lottery ticket in forever, but I remember when I used to buy one randomly, I for sure thought, I was like, this is my winning ticket. This is going to change my life. And I'd start dreaming about this is maybe my own son Neptune, drama in my own self. But like, oh man, thinking about like what I would do, where I would go, kind of like knowing that it wasn't. But gosh, it's so much fun to kind of use that energy. And I think that just can open us up to how expansive and creative we can be. And I think we want to do that without being hard on ourselves because maybe it's too much of a dream. Like, let's dream a little. Because I do think we're going to connect to a different sort of frequency of what we can manifest and what we can sort of build and be. And I think that it's going to be more in tune with our purpose as individuals. So, I don't know. Anyways, Sunday, we're going to see the sun come to 17 degrees. We're going to see the moon pass Saturn late Saturday night. And kind of nice that most of us get that while we're sleeping. We don't have to like go midday with a moon-Saturn conjunction and really feel kind of victimized and beaten up. So, we might kind of wake up a little maybe sluggish on Sunday. Maybe we're feeling like a little burdened or like, gosh, I have a ton of things to do. But we can also kind of wake up maybe feeling motivated from a more inward spiritual place to kind of go with your flow, to go with your adventure, kind of see what's out there. We still want to be able to see what's out there. We don't need like factual evidence of what's out there right now. Neptune's online now, online when we come into Sunday and heading towards the North Node in Aries. And I think dreams can be, really actualized in this time. Like it's a pretty special thing, but it's intense. And Neptune doesn't really bring intense energy. It brings a much more subtle energy, much more mystical energy. So there's a mysticism to the frequency right now that's quite interesting. There's an intensity, a mystic sort of quality to it, an empathetic, a compassionate quality. And I think we want to find motivation and compassion for ourselves to be able to dream, to go inward, to visualize. Maybe it's not all about the action right now with Mars just, basically stopped here, just starting its retrograde transit for the next 2.5 months, but definitely a lot of like inward action could be taken, which could be really positive. And that doesn't mean we won't take action and do anything today. I'm sure you'll do something today, but I don't think you need to force anything. I think you just need to kind of be really comfortable with yourself and how odd we all are in some way. And it's like some of those little weird things that we can be kind of maybe critical of on ourselves. Like I think we need to love those parts because I think that's some of the parts that are really gonna be the gift. And I think that the sun starting to trine Chiron speaks to some of the healing about things that we're like hard on ourselves or like we think hold us back, but really maybe it just wasn't meant to get unlocked. And maybe now there's some special key that's like getting unlocked. And I think it's through, again, believing in ourselves and feeling strong, even when maybe there isn't like a ton of proof that that's happening. So I think, it's a weekend. It's not the worst weekend in the world. The astrology is pretty intense, though. But it's mystical and it feels purposeful in a very divine way to me. And life kind of feels that way right now, but it's also very it's weird. Everything's a little weird right now. Kind of like not where I think a lot of us expected it to be, but I think we want to see the magic in that because that's sort of the oddity that we're in right now, especially with like Venus and Pluto and Aquarius. Like that's weird shit. Like the changes, coming around for the second one, like that changes and conceptualizes in a weird Aquarian way our own dynamic to ourselves, what we like, what we want to relate to, how we want to relate to others. And some of this healing can come from, of course, relationships and maybe deep connections in positive ways, but also, deep obsessions in some ways, codependency. But I do think it's all kind of like wrapping up to really like help us find and unlock a deeper layer that's really like mystical and beautiful within all of us. So try and find that mystical, beautiful layer that can kind of visualize and create and make up a future. It doesn't have to have fact behind it, but it is still a form of manifesting. It just depends on how much you believe it. We're kind of getting, we're kind of just in a place where it's like we do need to still believe in something, right? So, your story, how you want to write it? What do you want to believe in? What are you going to make happen? Doesn't mean it has to start today. Doesn't mean anything has to happen this weekend. Except you figuring that out inside for yourself. Planting seeds, if you will. Not even planting seeds. It's not spring yet. We're still in the fall. But it's almost like germinating seeds for the spring. It's Aquarius too. Putting them in our weird little incubator, or, being a little botanist scientist for our dreams and ideals. And we want to relate those and build those. And you know what I'm saying? Love you guys. Six of Cups. That's funny. Like it's a very nice card. It's very nostalgic. It's very youthful. Brings up kind of like remembering the good times when we were young. maybe we need to go back into sort of that naivety and that youthfulness of when we can look back and be like, oh wow, I was so hopeful and young, and maybe we'd even say now I was so young and dumb, but at least we like had some something in there that really was like, I'm gonna achieve this. I'm gonna make it happen, and whether it happened or not, it doesn't really matter, right? In the end, it did because it was meant to, or it didn't because it wasn't meant to. But yeah, I think we need to kind of dig deep and like find that emotion that wants to tap in to like the consciousness, into your own consciousness, and in a very creative way, to start to see these pages get written. But it doesn't even mean that the inks had to touch the page yet. Much more inner and visualized. That's where the gifts are this weekend. So, like I said, though, I'm sure people will get plenty of things done. There's plenty of things to do. We live in this dense world. I'm going to do things. But I know the real work this weekend will be internal. And I will do that too. I love you guys. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll see you all on Monday. Much love. Peace.